you, praise and worship team, for those songs of praise and worship. Amen. We are now in the hands of Bishop as he brings up Deacon today for the word.
Amen. Amen. Praise God. Praise the Lord.
Amen. Give God praise.
Amen.
I said give God praise.
Praise God. Praise God.
We thank God for being here this morning. We thank God for all our guests here this morning. We really appreciate you. Honor you. Amen. We thank God for being able to come to the house one more time.
That's it.
Amen. You might not have next week, so you might as well enjoy this week, because tomorrow is not promising any of us. Amen. And we thank God for what he's doing in the house and what he's doing in our ministry. Amen. And what we do for God. Amen. I want to thank God for Sister Sylvia Savoy, who rode with the First Lady through it all.
Amen.
Through it all. Amen. And she's seen the whole process, and we thank God for her love. And she didn't have to be called. She didn't have to be reminded. She called her, amen, and reminded her to say,
All
be there.
right.
They got that morning, they went and went through the whole process and hosting an AC, chilling. No, they was at work, amen. But we thank God for her, amen. That's commitment, amen. And we thank God for it. And it's good to see how things work, amen, because looking on the outside is not the same, amen. So we thank God for that. We thank God for, also I wanted to make sure I take at this point to thank God for opening their home last week, amen. Amen. Everybody open their homes like that, amen. And the G's greatly appreciated it. They greatly appreciate the love we shared with them on last week, amen. So we thank God for that. Well, the Deacon sermon continues, amen. Deacon sermon series continues, amen. And this week we have Deacon Diamond Nichols in the house, amen. And I know he has a word from God. I know he's got his millennial gear up here, this laptop, this fancy stuff, and I use old school paper, amen. But he's got millennial gear up here, ready to go, and we thank God for it, amen. We thank God. He's working hard, amen, and we don't want him to work too hard, but we ask him to come forth, amen, and bring the word, amen. Everybody say, Deacon Nichols.
Deacon Nichols.
Preach the word.
Preach the word.
Deacon Nichols.
Deacon Nichols.
Preach the word.
Preach the word.
Deacon Nichols.
Deacon Nichols.
Preach the word. Amen. Give God praise.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
This is my favorite. It's okay. I do have my laptop.
You got your backup.
Yeah, just in case. So first, I want to thank God for allowing me to be here right now. And
Amen.
I mean,
Amen.
here in this church, here in San Antonio, here married to my wife, here father to my children, here cousins to my cousins.
Amen.
Even here father or son to my father. So I want to thank God for that and working his magic to get me here. Second, I want to thank Bishop for the opportunity for growth, because Bishop has a way of forcing you to grow, and not force. So I want to thank him for that. I thought my last sermon I did was going to be my last sermon. When me and Bishop talked about becoming a deacon, I told him it's a 2 sermon per 10 year, max, and he didn't say yes or no. He just looked at me and I was like, okay, that's a yes problem. But we're good, because we all know that I have to say that since I met Bishop, and I mean truly got to know him, not just us grabbing lunch or us talking at the school parking lot, I have became a better man because of the way he forces you to think and the way he forces you to grow.
Amen.
Third, I want to thank my deacon family. So I have my wife, Deaconess Nichols, and my brother in God, family member, Deacon Savoy. And I want to thank them just for all of their encouragement. We're in a new text, and it's just great saying, arguing over who's going to do which parable, and I'm not going to say I called first dibs on my wife, but she did it, so it's okay. I'm here now. And then last but definitely not least, I want to thank my wife, as my wife, not as a deaconess. I want to thank her for being her. She is truly my better half. I am a better person because I married her. I'm a better person because I met her. And I'm a better person because of who she is and how she puts God first all the time. So, if you didn't catch her sermon last week, she did a great one. She did a very elegant job talking about the lost sheep, right, babe?
Right.
About a shepherd who it was his job to take care of these sheep, and he realized that one was missing. And anybody else would be happy with passing with a 99, but that shepherd was not, so he left the others alone to go find that one. She also talked about a lost coin, silver coin. Silver coin, baby. Girl, listen, girl. I listen. She talked about a silver coin and about how even though it was one single piece, it still had value.
All right.
And how the lady swept her house and in today's time she flipped over furniture and looked everywhere. And, I did that yesterday, so we're good. Looking for that extra change here and there. But I want to thank her for that. Now, on a side story, just real quick little detour. I want to talk about when I ran track in high school. Okay, just real quick, just bear with me. Okay, so when I was in high school, I ran track. Right, some people say I played track, but you can't play track. You got to run track. You play football, play volleyball, stuff like that. So I ran track, and I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the slowest. Okay. I had to always find my niche in life to work to be good at something. I was all right, what is a niche? Let me find it. So my niche was I had the ability to deal with pain. So where other people would get tired and they would stop because of the pain of being tired, I could keep running.
All right.
So I could block it out. And in a sense, life prepared me for that, so I found my niche in track. So one of my favorite events to do was the mile relay.
All right.
So if you know anything about the mile relay, it's the last event of the track. The sun's already gone down, the lights are on, everybody's still there, so they're there for that race. And so it's a relay. So you have parts. So you have usually it's a 4-man team or 4-woman team, depending on the relay. And everybody plays their part. So you have 4 legs. You have the first leg, second leg, third leg, fourth leg, right? You have a baton. You have to pass to the person in front of you without dropping it. You have to stay in your lane. It's a real organized event, but it's very exciting. So because of my niche, I was able to make the varsity mile relay team, right? Now remember, I wasn't the fastest, right? So the first leg, right? That guy has to be quick. He has to jump out there real quick, try to get in front, try to stay in front. But usually he wasn't the strongest runner. He was the guy that just had you the quick start. Okay. The second guy was a guy who just had to do his best to keep pace. Okay. I was the second guy. So usually the second guy on that team is the slowest. Okay. So I was the second guy because I could fight through the pain. I could keep running. So the third guy, he's usually a little bit better than the second, but not much. But he knows that that's the second half of the race. He has to stay. He has to be more mentally tough. But the most important part of that relay team is the anchor. Okay, and the anchor has to be the one that if you're up, he or she is the one that has to keep the lead, or if you're down, he or she is the one that has to run to try to win that race. Right? And our anchor, the guy was like 6'3", 250 pounds, all muscle. His legs were up to my elbows. The guy was built for it, right? And we won almost every race the whole year because we all played our parts. Okay. So I say that to say this: Bishop would not have made a good track coach. Okay? Because the last thing you do, you don't start the Deacon series off with your anchor. Okay? He put my wife first, and she is the anchor. She is the bar setter. I don't see the bar anymore. I'm going to try to do my best just to keep up and deal with the pain.
We understand. We
But
understand.
it's okay, Bishop, I love you anyways. All right? I probably should have wrapped it up just so we can finish strong. So, yeah, we won. Woo-hoo. All right, no pressure, Deacon, but, you know, you saw the bar, okay? I'll try to lower a little bit for you so you can get jump over me. Okay, so what I did want to say is I love y'all, and I really feel like God has prepared me for this sermon. I've been doing a lot of, you know, if anybody knows me, they know I live in my brain. I do a lot of thinking inside. If I'm not talking, I'm thinking. And I've been preparing, writing down little notes in my text and doing this, so I feel really good about this one. And, you know, you feel a little different when you study for the test. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you do.
So I'm here now. So I love y'all, and here we go. All right, so let me wake y'all up for a little bit. Okay, everybody knows how knock knock goes, right?
Yes.
Okay, I say knock knock, you say what?
Who's there?
That's it, right? Simple, right? So let's look at knock knock.
Who's there?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Everybody got that?
Yeah.
It's easy, right? Okay. Knock knock.
Who's there?
God.
God who?
Who said God who? You don't know God? All right. Time to wake up. So, I called this sermon, and I remember when I told my wife the title, she was like, what? And I said, yeah, that's the title, that's what God gave me. And she was like, no, babe, for real, what's your title? And I was like, Monica, if you don't write that right now. And I got already, you know, I don't know, babe, did you post it in the group message? So she posted a group message, and I got already, like, kind of in my head, see Bishop, like, okay, all right. Deacon, you want to come and talk to me first about this one? And I can see, you know, Sister Daphne like, oh, baby, all right. We got to trust Brother Diamond. Lord gave him the word. And, you know, but so the name of my sermon is called Self-Proclaimed Prodigal Bastard.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, and this is what God gave me. And I've been working on this for a while, and it's funny how everything lines up, but here we are. So, some quick little descriptions or definitions. I'm pretty sure everybody kind of knows what each one means, but just in case you don't know. So everybody knows self-proclaimed, right?
Right. Yeah.
Self-proclaimed means that you took it upon yourself to give yourself a title or a position that was not endorsed by anyone else.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
So to me, I'm self-proclaimed sexiest man in San Antonio. Baby. Self-proclaimed. There you go. Okay? So the second one, prodigal, and everybody kind of knows the story of the prodigal son. So prodigal means that you know, you're spending money or resources freely or recklessly. So you're burning it faster than you could make it. You're running through it, so you're being reckless. Okay. Now, bastard has many different definitions, many different meanings. Everybody knows the main one means that, you know, you're a child born out of wedlock. And that's the, you know, the go-to. But if you actually read up on the word bastard, it's deeper than that. You know, usually, let's say that is a situation where two people have a kid and that child's born out of wedlock. Well, usually the burden of that child always falls on that mother, because she bears the child, even though it's still 50-50, but she has a close relationship with that child. And because she bared it, she will do everything she can for that child, so she won't leave it. So, depending on the situation, usually the father is not present. So, in my definition of the word bastard, it means a fatherless child. Okay? So, but we'll get back to that my title later. Okay? So, the prodigal son. Everybody knows the story. I'm going to have Deacon Savoy read Luke chapter 15, 11 through 32. Give me an amen. We found it.
Amen.
Sister Daphne always got it. She was reading this morning, bro.
Amen.
And he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided it unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there was wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, And he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. And he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran, and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him.
Yes.
And put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field. And as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted cow, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry, and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. And he answered, said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet you never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured they living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted cow. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad. For this thy brother was dead, and is alive again, and was lost is found.
Amen. So, no one here, the prodigal son is a well-known story, okay? So if you grew up in a church or you grew up around a church, you know, even at a young age, you knew certain names. You know, say you knew Jesus. I learned that at a young age. You knew Moses, right? You knew, who else? Moses. You knew Noah. And even though I didn't know the actual parable of the prodigal son, I knew the phrase.
All right.
Amen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in my youth, I thought it was a good thing at first. I was like, oh, prodigal son, because it sounds prodigal, productive. You know, I was like, okay, that sounds good. So without knowing, but you know that. So like Deacon Savoy just read. So the start of it is the son asking for his inheritance. Now, what you have to look at, and I read it in many different versions of the Bible. That was actually disrespectful.
Yes, it was.
Okay, that would be, let's say that Ileana, Diamond, and Tati are older. Let's say they're you know, late 30s or early 30s, late 20s, right? And our house is paid off, and we have some money saved up and that. And even though we are not dead,
Right.
they asked us to move out the house and empty our bank account because they want what is theirs now.
Yeah. Right.
So that's you have to realize that from the beginning of the story. Now, so back then, now I guess everything's pretty much equally divided. I have 3 kids; they all get 33%. Bishop has 2 kids; they all get 50%. Well, back then, the oldest son actually got 2/3, because he was born first, and the youngest would get 1/3. So, as Deacon just read, the father obliged. He said, okay, son, if this is what you want. So he gave him his 1/3, I'm guessing in gold or silver, and he went on. He went to faraway land, and he threw a party, okay? He made friends, he had a good time, and while the money was there, he was having fun.
All right.
Okay? When the money disappeared, all his friends disappeared.
All right.
Okay? And he realized that the people that he was feeding with his father's or with his inheritance, they weren't there to feed him now that he ran out of money. Okay? So he realized that he was going to starve if he didn't do something to generate income or generate a way to feed himself. Okay? Now, when I read more about the story, there was a part that said he actually forgot he had a father. In his indulgence, he forgot that he had a father. So, once he remembered, as Deacon read earlier, that's when he said, well, my father's hired helper servants are eating better than me right now. And I'm here struggling. I need to go back home. Now, Elder talked about this earlier in Bible study, and I think it's amazing how stuff lines up. When times are great, we forget about God.
All right.
Okay? And we do it. I'm not the first one to say that. Everybody say that. We forget about God, but when times get bad is when we pray the most. Okay? And the funny thing is, I don't know why, I think it's just our selfishness, but we think we're playing a game with God. We think that we're playing peekaboo with God. Okay, so God's here in this church, but he's not in my avalanche when I'm driving home. Okay? Or while I'm at work, and as long as I don't think about God, he's not looking at me right now.
Yeah.
And the thing you have to realize is that God does not play games. God doesn't play games.
Yeah.
But we think we can play a game with him.
Amen.
God plays peekaboo like this. Okay? So, you're not going to win that game.
Yeah.
Now, as the story goes, he went home, and his father was overjoyed to see him. And even though he came and he said that he was not worthy to be his father's son anymore,
All right.
treat him less than as, the father said, no, you are my son.
Yeah.
And he celebrated because his lost son
Yes.
came back home.
Amen.
Now, this parable, it illustrates how God, our Father, is happy whenever one of us come back home.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, we have to make a choice to go back home
Yeah.
before we starve to death.
My God.
Now,
That's right.
yes, ma'am. Now, of course, as everyone put together, starving is not food.
Right.
In this day and age, no one should starve here in the United States. I would say the world, but the United States. But it's spiritually starving.
Yeah. My Lord.
I am closer to God since I've been coming here than I've ever been in my whole life, and I am 36 years old, and it has changed me.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
I am being fed at this church.
Praise God.
So it's great. The son came back. We came back. I came back. Prodigal sons and daughters came back. We're all here in this church. Now, my title, self-proclaimed prodigal bastard, what happens to those prodigal sons and daughters that don't make the choice to come back?
God have mercy. God have mercy.
All right.
What if they never decide to go back home?
My God. My God.
See, due to their pride, they proclaim themselves prodigal bastards. They're not willing to put in the work, and it is work. Trust me. Ask Miss Cynthia at 2 a.m. It is work to learn, and it is work to fight and claw your way back to get here.
All right now.
Right now. So, let's talk about pride. Now, pride is usually seen as a good thing, right? Like rocket pride. Rocket pride? Rocket pride?
No.
Not anymore? Veteran pride. Right? Pride is usually a good thing, right? But so I got so caught up on that because when I read more into the story of the prodigal son, it said that he actually had to turn away from his pride to realize that he needed to say what he needed to say to get back home.
All right.
So I started looking up pride, and I started going on that journey. And so I found the book of Job, right? Chapter 33, 14 through 17, and it actually says, "For God speaks again and again, though people do not realize it.
Right.
He speaks in dreams, in visions of the night, when deep sleeps fall on people as they lie in their beds. He whispers in their ears and terrifies them with warnings. He makes them turn from doing wrong and keeps them from pride."
Oh my.
I said, I read that the first time, I thought maybe that was a misprint, right? The Bible got misprints. So I looked this up, and everything was to keep them from pride.
From
Not to be prideful or not to boast, but to stay away from it.
all right now.
So that had me thinking about where I am right now. And my wife shared last week, but we would not be here right now, married as a couple, if we did not start to listen to God and listen to our Bishop and First Lady, who were talking for God,
All right.
to put our pride away.
All right, sir.
Yeah.
All right now.
Because if you know me and my wife, if we think we're right, we tend to burn the boats.
Hallelujah.
And the funny thing is, it was easy to see, like, okay, well, my wife's like that, but I'm not.
All right. All right.
But
Say well.
yet, I can't see things from her point of view.
Yeah.
Because if I think I'm right, even though I looked at her twig, I could not see that I was the same way. So it took God some time to get me there, but pride is a dangerous thing.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So let's go back now, okay? High school track, right? I'm still on track team, right? So here we are. It's week 7, 8, okay? 7, 8 track meet. It's going really well. My bad. There you go. It's going well, right? So by this time, you already had practice. You're in shape. You know what I'm saying? So, I was skinny and muscular, and I could run really fast, and everything was good. But in that race, in that lap around the track, my coach would stand at the 200 meter mark.
Okay.
So at the halfway point.
Okay.
So week 1, week 2, week 3, he would stand right there. And as we were running, and usually we were always in first place, right? Because that first guy got off quick. I got the baton, I could just keep running. He would stand right there, and he would yell to me, "Diamond, don't you stop, they're right behind you." And I would run hard, and I would run, and I would run. I hit that last corner, hit that last stroke, and my body's crying. And I would hand the baton off, and I would turn around, and no one would be there. They were barely hitting the turn. We had so much of a lead on them that he was, in a sense, lying to me. So, week 4, Diamond, they're right behind you. I ran hard, just in case. Turn around, they weren't there. Week 5, week 6, they're right behind you. Turned around. One time during a race, turned around. They're not behind me. I'm Diamond Nichols, right? Second man on the Judson varsity relay team. Gave him time off. So one race, we're there, and we're at a track meet in the middle of nowhere that there's no way that anybody there could beat us. And I'm running. I get the time, same speed. I never slowed down, but I'm running. And he screams out. He says, "Diamond, they're right behind you." And I didn't put on the jets. I was like, man, there's no one behind me. I'm fine. I'll save for a straightaway. And if this curly head boy didn't come pass me up, the kid, I remember because I didn't take my coach seriously, I didn't kick in my boost. Because I didn't kick in my boost, it actually made me more tired because I trained my muscles to run that race. And I wasn't consistent. So as he started to pass me, I just remember seeing like his curly bouncing hair just going up and down as he was pulling away from me. And I remember trying to turn it on, but it's kind of like I was defeated.
Yeah.
Now, we did not lose because we had a strong anchor.
Yeah.
And this guy got the baton in, I would think we were in 4th place, and he got 1st place the last 10 yards or meters of the race. So he ran his race. But I didn't listen to that warning, that voice. So my pride, which made me thought that this week 7, we haven't lost yet on Diamond Nichols, he came back and bit me. So I didn't do that again. So, pride will destroy everything. It will destroy a family. It will destroy a marriage. And it will destroy even a gift that God has given you, if you don't appreciate it.
Amen.
So then I went to James chapter 4, verse 6.
Right.
Real short one. It says, but he gives us more than grace. That is what Scripture says. God opposes the proud,
Yes, he does.
but shows favor to the humble.
Yes, he does. Amen. My God.
And right there I thought about my wife and my kids. And I thought about our battles. And I thought about how prideful we were. And I remember how God was in our house at that moment. But it wasn't until we humbled ourselves and stopped focusing on each other, but started focusing on our actual selves, that's what allowed God to come in.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer worried about Monica Nichols because God made her the way He did. And she no longer worried about me because it was her job to get stronger in the Word, and it was my job for me to get stronger in the Word.
All right.
So that we could be one stronger in the Word for our kids.
Amen.
So, your pride will always get in your way. It'll get in the way. It'll stop you from deciding to go back home, to go back to God.
I go.
It'll stop you for even asking for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, and I'm sorry to use it again, baby, because this is not in my thing, but this is talking to me right now. We would go days without talking to each other because neither one of us wanted to budge. And even when I did budge, because usually I was one that would budge, I didn't handle it the right way. I didn't, when I asked for forgiveness or apologized, I didn't mean it.
All right.
Because when you mean something, you change your actions.
Amen.
I was just trying to get past that moment. So, your pride will make you, it'll take you such a deep, dark place that you'll just figure it's not worth even trying.
Yeah.
So you figure that you sin so much that there's no point even going back to God because you're in this hole. So then you proclaim yourself a bastard in God's house. But I have good news.
All right.
All right, come on now.
God doesn't have bastard children.
Amen.
Amen.
No, he doesn't.
He just has lost ones. Okay? Now, the thing you gotta realize is God did not, remember I talked about earlier about when you self-proclaim, right? You know, it's not endorsed by anybody. God does not endorse you changing your title. You are God's child.
Amen.
You are nothing else.
That's right.
You might think that you're changing it or adding it, but you are not. You are God's child. So because he does not endorse it, you are not allowed to change it.
Amen.
Now, Bishop, how old are your children? 26 and 24. Elder, how old are your kids? 40. Ms. Daphne, how old are your kids?
31.
31. Ms. Henry, how old are your kids?
28, 20, and 19.
Okay. All right. Now, notice the question I asked. How old are their child or children, right?
Yes, yes.
Now, even though they are of adult age, they will never stop being
That's right.
their child.
Yeah.
That's right.
No matter what they do, no matter what they say,
Right.
they'll never stop. And that's how God sees us.
Yeah.
We will never stop being his child.
Amen.
And I think that it's no coincidence that the parable is called Prodigal Son. Okay? Because when you hear the word son, you automatically see what?
So,
Yeah.
You see child. Okay? It was a name Prodigal Man. It was a name Prodigal Young Adult.
Yeah.
Okay? It was Prodigal Son. So when you first heard that, you saw
That's right.
Little Diamond.
Yeah.
Okay? And I don't think that was by coincidence. Because when you hear the word son, automatically there's a sign, assigned to that name, like a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because when you say son, it means that they're not a father, which means that they cannot provide for themselves.
Yeah.
So the word prodigal son was used to make you see that you, no matter what, you're always God's child. And you can always come home.
amen.
Now, children, and there's another part too, just to show how amazing they are. So I have 3 kids. I have Ileana, I think her name is Ileana, Diamond, and Tati, right? And they have taught me so much from the time they were little to now, to different phases they're in. And most importantly, how courageous they are. Because no matter if they're right or if they're wrong, they still ask for stuff. Okay? But you have to see the bigger picture. Okay? So come up here real quick, Don. So Diamond's 10. Okay? Now of all my children, Diamond is the most mischievous, yeah. And I love him because I was too. But he is courageous because he'll still ask for stuff. You know, my wife's biggest pet peeve is to eat her food without asking, or eat it period when she goes like, hey, this is my 1 apple. Here's 9 for y'all. Don't eat my 1. I love you. Here's 9. My son will go eat that 1 apple. And then he will apologize. And then he'll ask for more apples. Like same day, like not even like a week later. Same day. Okay? But I love him for that. Because that same courage that he shows, we need to have that when we approach God.
Amen.
I'll see something. And at some point when we get older, it's like we lose that. You know, at this age, Diamond will climb up here, climb through there, jump on the roof to the car, and this and that. We all did stuff like that. But at some point, it's like we feel like we can get hurt, so we stop doing it. Or at some point, now we're held accountable, so we stop doing it. But we have to never lose that. He took his father's inheritance, fortune, whatever you want to call it, and it's gone.
Yeah.
It didn't say that he worked it off, saved his money, and brought it back and said, Father, here's a part of it, or Father, here's all of it, or Father, here's more than what I took. I'm sorry. He came back with nothing.
Yeah.
He came back with no apples. See, and you have to even look at it even more than that. Tati, come here real quick, Tati. Stand right here. Okay, so Tati is the boss of the family, right? She's a Monica clone to the T. Okay? But even with her, Diamond's my son, he's my boy, right? But even Tati, when she messes up, she asks for forgiveness. When she wants something, she asks for it, right? But the thing that you don't see, because now we're adults, is that Tati lives with two giants who tell her when to go to bed, who tell her when to eat, who tell her when to watch TV, not watch TV, read your book, brush your teeth, clean the room, clean the toilet room, this and that. Imagine right now, I'm 5'11 and a half, 6 foot, depending on the shoes I'm wearing. And in proportion, there was a man outside where I'm Tati's size, and he, in proportion, is my size to her. Intimidating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that is what I see in my children's face when Diamond messes up and he needs to ask for forgiveness or ask for something, or Tati is, Diamond's got in trouble, so Tati's like, oh man, okay, let me see if I can try to give me a cookie, right? And Illy's like, I'm saying all that, whatever. But when they do come, even though they're scared, they ask for forgiveness. That fear doesn't stop them. Let's see. So that is what we need in our relationship with God. Even though He is God, and even though He could do whatever He wants to do, He doesn't. So we need to approach Him like a child approaches their father.
Yeah.
Because God is watching all the time. He's not just in here. He's not just at our house. He's at my job. He's in the restroom. He's there when I'm taking a shower. He's there when I'm at work. He's always there. He's watching me when I'm asleep. I don't know for what, but He is. Okay? So I will end with this. No matter what title you go by or what title you give yourself, remember that you will always be a child of God.
Amen.
Amen. Give God praise. Awesome job. Amen. Awesome job. Amen. Amen.